We've got breaking news coming in on the newsroom this evening that the Intelligence Bureau has put out an alert that's caused alarm bells to go off in New Delhi. This report talks about a Chinese link to the recent Manipur killings. There's a Chinese PLA retired colonel who's been named for the first time, who's reportedly running a training center in Myanmar. He's also set up a weapons manufacturing unit in Myanmar. For more on this breaking story, I want to go across straight to my colleague Kamaljit Sandhu, who's breaking this deeply disturbing and alarming report for our viewers this evening. We've not seen names of PLA colonels being put out in the past. This has happened, Kamaljit, with ISI officers. It's never happened with PLA officers in this way. And there are two officials in the Chinese Interior Ministry whose telephone recordings apparently the Intelligence Bureau has access to. Tell us more, Kamaljit.
Well, definitely after the ceasefire violations, there was a ceasefire violation on behest of the Chinese PLA. This is what's been noticed and intercepted by the Intelligence Bureau officials, which has caused the alarm bells ringing in the North Block. Now, the information coming in is very specific. This is also saying that Paresh Barua, who is also roaming around from Myanmar to Chinese border, saying that he's been in touch with SS Khaplang, whose group attacked those 18 men who were killed. But definitely, this is all happening at the Manipur border, very, very close to the area of action. But information coming in is that the Chinese PLA is closely monitoring the northeastern insurgent groups. They're not only providing weapons, they have a factory weapon both in the Burma as well as in Chinese territory. They are the ones who are not only funding but also providing material. They're also providing ammunition. So they're also giving moral support. This is something which is seen as extremely important. So we've got names of Burmese officials, we've got names of Chinese officials.
Okay, there's one colonel from the PLA, Mal Yon Pao Huang, who with the help of some Burmese communist leaders is helping set up an arms factory to supply weapons to these terrorists. They're also working actively towards bringing the 8-9 different factions of terrorists and insurgents operating in the northeast under one banner. RSN Singh is a former research and analysis wings officer. He's looked very closely at this, and we saw recently, sir, when the Prime Minister was in Beijing, that there's a lot of growing bonhomie between India and China, and suddenly Kamaljit's report suggests that what's happening on the ground is completely the opposite of what the Chinese have been telling us.
Look, this is the first time this input is coming to me from you. But let me tell you the background. There was a time when there was a very, very strong collusion in the 70s between the Burmese Communist Party and the Chinese. Then they had broken. Then
but my understanding is after Rajiv Gandhi went to China in '84, China promised to back off from interfering in India's internal matters.
But I have also learned that the Chinese have supplied a AK-47 manufacturing facility to the Kachins, and from there these AK-47s are being supplied to the insurgents in the northeast and as well as the Maoists in our hinterland. That is one input. The second input, you must understand, see this attack, this ambush in perspective. Out of 60, as per the MHA, out of 65 terrorist groups that are in India, 34, as many as 34 are in Manipur. So initially, this name of NSCN-K was coming. Yes, they may have played some role, but they are not the major culprits. There is also an organization called PULF, that is People's United Liberation Front, who have direct contacts with Pakistan, ISI and the Lashkar-e-Toiba. They have been sending their people for training to all the way from Manipur to Pakistan for training.
Okay, I want to get a word in now from former Chief of the Indian Army Staff, General V.P. Malik, is joining us on this broadcast. General Malik, what's most disconcerting for me as I go through the latest alert that's been put out by the Indian intelligence agencies is the fact that they're suggesting that they've got phone intercepts between two officials, one of whom is in the Chinese Interior Ministry, who's guiding the Khaplan faction and actually inciting them to launch more attacks on Indian security forces. General Malik, what do you make of this latest alert, sir?
I think, this is something which needs to be further investigated.
Yes.
Because there is a background. In 60s and early 70s, the Chinese were supporting many of our outfits in the northeast, the Nagas, the Mizos and everybody. And then there was a lull. But I have also been wondering that Kachin, the Khaplang group is near Mon, fair distance from Manipur. And how come they have managed to influence this ambush which has taken place in Manipur? So there has to be some hand which is uniting people, tribals like this. Khaplang is, he's right in the north of Burma, but the fact is that the Chinese do have a fair amount of influence amongst the Kachins and other Naga
No, sir,
groups.
because are you suggesting then that there are elements within the PLA who are playing now a similar game as we saw with the ISI? Because the ISI plays this double game with India. The politicians say they want to make peace, and then you have these terror attacks being plotted by the ISI. Are we seeing something similar being restarted by the Chinese, sir?
I won't rule it out. I will not rule it out. That is why I am saying it needs to be further investigated. As far as the Chinese are concerned, let me tell you what Henry Kissinger had once said. He said, ambiguity with a smile is characteristic of Chinese diplomacy. So, bonhomie that you see during the visit to each other, that is a part. We have to look at things on the ground and see what is happening there. And as far as this part is concerned, what you are suggesting, I will not rule it out. I will get it further investigated.
Ambiguity with a smile, that's the hallmark of Chinese diplomacy. That's a quotation that General Malik has put out, and it holds a lot of water. Thank you very much, General Malik, for joining us. I want to go across live to Beijing. My colleague Anand Krishnan, who reports for us at the India Today group, is joining us. Anand, Kamaljeet's report this evening, these are details that have never been seen in the public domain, names a colonel, a retired colonel of the PLA, Mul Yan Pao Huang, who's helped set up weapons factories, arming terrorists, and Interior Ministry officials trying to bring these 8-9 groups together. What do you make of this report and this intelligence alert sitting in Beijing, Anand?
Yeah, well, Rahul, I think there's been long-time concerns about the flow of arms that have been coming from southwestern China's Yunnan province, which borders Myanmar. And in fact, in the past, several months ago, when a similar story surfaced, we had put it to the Chinese side. And their explanation was that this is a pretty lawless area, that the border between Yunnan and Myanmar is pretty porous. There's flow of drugs, there's a flow of arms. So they sort of deny that the state is involved. But the other counter argument is that in the past, when the Chinese government has wanted to crack down, it has cracked down. So some Indian officials believe that even if the Chinese government is not directly involved, it does know that these dealings are going on. And so on some occasions like this one, they prefer to look the other way.
You make a very interesting point, Anand. You're saying that even if they're not directly involved, they're aware of the fact that these linkages are being built, that these dealings are going on, and they can clamp down if they wanted, but they choose not to do so. This is exactly what the ISI does in Pakistan, and now we're seeing the PLA play the same game in India's northeast.
I think that's what the Chinese officials and experts that we speak to, especially those in Yunnan, say. And if you do actually visit the border of Yunnan and Myanmar, I think there's a lot that goes on. I mean, there are casinos, there's drugs dealers, there are arms dealers. It's a pretty lawless neck of the woods. But on the other hand, just as you drew the comparison with Pakistan, I think we certainly can't rule out that there are elements in the Chinese establishment and intelligence circles that are unaware of this. Because in the past, when they wanted to crack down on arms traders in both Myanmar and Thailand, they have done so. So, I mean, we can assume that India has in the past raised this occasion with China, and the fact that they haven't taken action is itself a very serious cause for concern.
Very significant comments coming in from Anand Krishnan, reporting for us from Beijing. It's late in the night there. Thank you very much, Anand, for joining us. I want to go across now live to Shaina NC from the Bharatiya Janata Party. She's joining us on the newsroom, ma'am. First reaction from the BJP on this deeply disturbing alert that's been put out by the Indian intelligence agencies. On the one side, the Prime Minister says India, China, bye-bye. and now we are seeing this nefarious game being played out in the northeast. Are we getting carried away in this sweep of wanting to be friends with China?
No, I think this intel report is very disturbing, and it's not something that has come as any kind of what would one want to say. I mean, when one heard about the Manipur ambush, one thought that this would be an insurgent group, considering the fact that there have been many such cases in the past as well. Having said that, I think that we need to applaud North Bloc and our intelligence agencies, which have been able to arrive at a conclusion. Unfortunately, we're not some weak government.
The reality, Shaina, is had Manmohan Singh been Prime Minister and such a report had come out, the BJP would have gone to town claiming that Manmohan Singh is weak, he's selling out in India's interest, that he doesn't deserve to be Prime Minister. Now we're seeing a similar situation with Narendra Modi at the helm, and this alert saying that in the northeast they're playing a dangerous game which we don't seem to be acting against, China.
One moment. Rahul, what was Mr. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's immediate reaction when we lost 20 lives of our armed forces in Manipur? Immediately he went out to say that he bows his head and he will not let it go in vain. Shortly you have come up with this report, and everyone is coming to know the facts of China's involvement, certain communist leaders, rebel leaders in Myanmar. All of this is not something which is just going to be absorbed in the system.
RSN Singh, we're putting out these details now. China says she just found out from the India Today group, and that's possible as far as the party is concerned. But surely people in the Ministry of Home Affairs, people in the IB, the National Security Advisor, all of them know about it. Why are we not being able to respond to this challenge? We lost 18 army jawans in Manipur. That's the biggest attack, and it happened under Prime Minister Modi's watch.
Let me tell you, the entire details haven't come. Remember that the ISI was acting from Bangladesh, against the northeast incident. The Bangladesh territory used to serve as a base, which was considerably reduced during Sheikh Hasina's regime. The Chinese are interested in Sonadia port in Bangladesh. The Pakistanis have been, finding their, influence waning. So this attack was a collusion between the ISI and the Chinese intelligence to sabotage / sully Narendra Modi's visit to Bangladesh. And take it from me for whatever worth I am, and I'm telling you this is the real story.
Kamaljit, how are officials in the Ministry
He is not connecting the two things.
That's interesting. You draw a very interesting comparison that they're trying to ensure that the Prime Minister's visit gets destabilized.
Yes,
and it's not as successful as it would otherwise be.
In Northeast, who are all tapping into this terror? It is the Chinese, it is the ISI, it is the some elements of the Directorate General of Forces Intelligence of Bangladesh, some NGOs. Okay, I want to go across to Kamaljit Sandhu. How is the Ministry of Home Affairs, Kamaljit, responding to this challenge? We have been hearing reports of an all-out assault in the northeast, the surrender policy being done away with, an all-out possible assault. How does Rajnath Singh, how does Mr. A.K. Doval intend to deal with this? What's their plan? And the Maoists?
Well, with the BJP government really coming to the fore now, what we know is that the information is available. Now, there is an NIA investigation into this entire case. But on ground, this has to be a counter-insurgency operation as far as these groups are concerned. So, the action by the army and then the investigations going side by side. Now, what is also more alarming is the fact that there is going to be sporadic attacks in the northeastern region as per the intelligence report. This obviously means that perhaps there has to be a greater amount of resistance, especially as far as the borders are concerned. And remember, Chandel was just 2 hours away from Myanmar. So these groups are easily operating in the porous areas, in the border areas, which are known as the grey areas, where they're easily able to come in and go back. They just flee away. So even if there is investigation going on, there has to be a stronger counter-insurgency as far as these groups are concerned. We have
China, does the government have a plan of trying to bring Myanmar on board in the manner in which the Sheikh Hasina government in Bangladesh has helped? These terror outfits seem to have a free run in Myanmar. How does your party and your government intend to deal with that, China?
Well, obviously, Rahul, you are aware that there have been extensive meetings between the Defence Ministry, the Home Ministry and security agencies. Ever since this ambush did take place, the government has made it amply clear that we are going to fight it and fight it to the finish. The Indian government will definitely raise this issue with China as well, and I hope that we will be in a position to come up with some leads in the days to come.
Okay.
However, I think that rather than jumping the gun, it's important to have faith in the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because he is not some weak leader who's going to just accept
final
the
words.
loss of 18
She's saying
lives
Modi is not weak. What must he do next?
No, you cannot take it up with China, because you don't have such, you know, such intelligence operations have deniability inherent in it. As far as Myanmar army is concerned, I can bet on it that they have not colluded. I can bet on it. But I told you initially, yes, they hardly have any, you know, control over the Kachins. They hardly have any control over many of the insurgent groups which are part of outer Myanmar. And on the list that I told you, people tapping into terror in Northeast, please also include the Maoists and the Lashkar-e-Toiba.
Well, this is a very dangerous and deadly cocktail of terror. Kamaljeet Sandhu, for breaking this story for our viewers, thank you very much. It will remain to be seen how Prime Minister Modi and his team deal with this challenge. Thank you very much, Arasan Singh, for joining us on the newsroom this evening. Thanks also to Shaina NC.